You are now listening to Dr. Troy Munson from the Infinity Whole Health Care Clinic. Now here is Dr. Munson with today's featured podcast.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson. And this is a problem that I see often, calcium. People will come in and ask me, well, how much calcium, doc? How much should I be taking? And hey, I've been taking calcium, but I don't notice anything. Or is that calcium going to cause me problems? And I know this is a common theme that we bring up in my particular podcast quite a bit about calcium, but it's something that is so easy to do incorrectly that it just can't be an often enough reminder. I was just thinking a couple clients that came in that were both stiff. I was adjusting them and they knew before I was giving asked, I said, I haven't been taking my calcium. I thought, it's all right if you want to feel stiff. I don't mind, it's not my body. But they at least know now that, hey, I could feel less stiff and less tender if I take calcium. And of course, the calcium that we use is typically like a calcium lactate. That's a blood food. There are different forms of calcium out there, but case in point, I have a gentleman that has come to see me and he was in a lot of pain. He was apprehensive. He's an older gentleman and we got to talking and he has these conditions where it's like his spine is freezing because the ligaments are calcifying. The joints are literally trying to fuse. And so with this particular condition, for those of you that even care, it's called ankylosing spondylitis. And it's something you don't want to say 5 times fast. We usually say ank spine. But ank spine it literally is your bones kind of fusing to each other. What I find fascinating, especially in a lot of cases, is that it's not the entire spine. It's a couple of vertebrae. And when I see something like that where a body's trying to calcify, I'm like, this is a really weird presentation. And so my first initial question is, tell me about the calcium you're taking. And for him, when I finally got his MRIs and X-rays released from a medical facility and looked at him like, wow, okay, this guy's got some serious bone loss. You can probably read your newspaper through his bones. They're so thin. And so I kind of get it. You know, this is why they gave him a prescription for calcium. And I told him, I said, hey, I need you to bring your prescription and I need to take a look at it. And so he brings it in and I told him even beforehand, I said, you know, it's probably a decent form of calcium, but I just want to make sure it's not calcium carbonate. So when he brings it in, we tear off the label because he hadn't torn it off or looked at it. He was just taking it. And I read on it real quick that it was 600 milligram tablets and he was taking 2, one morning, one night. And lo and behold, it was calcium carbonate. I said, I actually can't even believe it. I told him, I said, at least go home and Google this. You're going to find out that this is calcium carbonate. And you might want to do a little research on how good is it to take calcium carbonate. And it was the next visit that he came in. He goes, I read up on this. And I come to find out through somebody else who knows him that I know that says, oh, he's a computer guru. I'm like, oh, no wonder, because this guy's, well above 70 and most folks are a bit, they're apprehensive about using a computer. And so anyways, when I found he's a computer guru and he comes back, he goes, should I even be taking this? Because he goes, I did all this research on it and you're right, calcium carbonate is not okay. And I said, well, I didn't prescribe it to you, and so I can't tell you not to take it. But if it were me, I wouldn't be doing it. But if you're concerned and still want to do some form of calcium, you might do like a quarter of a pill. And I said the unfortunate part is that it's only about 8%, maybe 10% maximum absorption. So of a 600 milligram tablet, you're actually at best going to get under 60 milligrams absorbed. So you're taking one morning, one night, and it's really wrecking your digestion because it's taking a lot of acid out of your gut to try and process this kind of a chemical because it is a rock or a stone. And so that's really hard on our digestive system to try to process. That's why we depend on plants to take calcium from the soil, calcium carbonate, and fix it into a bicarbonate or a calcium lactate like beets, or some other form of calcium, calcium malate, calcium hydroxyapatite, calcium citrate, whatever calcium it is that you're doing, there are different forms. And so with this particular one, he slowed down on it tremendously. I actually gave him calcium lactate to try and supplement. I said, here's the rub. One of my pills is only 85 milligrams of calcium, but it's going to be more because you're going to absorb all of it compared to a calcium carbonate, which you're not going to absorb any of it. And so I had him doing just a couple morning, couple night, not big doses because I didn't want to aggravate any conditions he may have that we, unbeknownst to us, that he's got going on in his system because of taking a poor calcium source. And so within about a week, he comes back and he goes, I just want you to know that I cannot remember the last time I have not had low back pain until now. And he was just amazed. And I said, if I had not witnessed it in other people taking massive doses of crappy calcium, I would be shocked. But I told him, I said, I'm not shocked. And I'm pleased. I'm glad that you're able to be out of low back pain after 20, 30, 40 years of it, just because we're doing some incorrect calcium. And because obviously we're doing some adjustments and we're, chiropractically speaking, and we're putting in some good calcium for those tissues. So it is rewarding to see something like that over and over happen. And there is a legitimate concern out there because people do get kidney stones and they're often calcium. And if we're taking a crappy calcium source, we're going to have issues. Now, let's just talk about some sources that you may not know that you're getting of calcium carbonate, which is limestone. The dairy profession knows that when they pasteurize milk, they destroy the calcium lactose molecule bond, and the other calciums of whatever it's bonded to in cow milk, it's destroyed in the pasteurization process. So they actually add calcium carbonate to milk. It's crazy. And so in a lot of dairy, you're not going to know this, but you're going to get calcium carbonate or limestone in your dairy products. And so it's something that you want to kind of understand what is out there indeed. Some other pills, meaning supplements, even medications, can have calcium binders in it that may be an inert form of calcium. So there are a lot of different forms of calcium out there that you do have to be careful with if you are one that tends to promote kidney stone growth. Now, check out some of my other podcasts because I've talked about kidney stone production and what some ideas about how to help your body remove those salts and those proteins that you may be making those stones in your kidneys with, and how to keep them out of your blood, out of your kidneys, getting them to your digestive tract or your gut and getting it out of you. There are ways to do that to try and help. So please check out those podcasts if you have concerns about that. But this was just one of those, beautifully, wonderfully profound clients that went home and did the research and really made a decision for themselves. And like we talked about, we're just candidly talking about this. This is what's out there. And I'm sorry that you have this and that they did it to you, but I think it can be undone, and he's pleasantly surprised and tickled pink. So those are the things that are out there. So if you're having conditions, issues like that, and you're concerned, maybe you have calcium questions, feel free to shoot me a line, shoot me a text. And until next time, I'm Dr. Troy Munson.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you would like, you can contact Dr. Munson at infinityWholeHealthCare.com.
The information on this podcast from Dr. Troy Munson is meant to educate the listener on a variety of health issues. It is not meant to diagnose or treat any conditions.